Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Guna podcast, the Arsenal Women edition. I'm here with Izzy today. A little bit of a quieter one, but obviously it is getting into pre-season. The squad are out in Germany at the moment, and preparations are underway. The season's coming around so quickly. I feel like every time we talk about this, we're getting one step closer to the start of that new season, and so exciting. Obviously we've got to start with the news that came out today, somewhat expected. Laura Wienroither obviously departing Arsenal and joining Manchester City. She was on loan with them the second half of last season, and a little bit sort of expected in a way, maybe not definitely to City, but we kind of expected her departure to be announced eventually. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's a good move for her? Do you think maybe she's kind of lost her place in that Arsenal squad a little bit, and is City the right place for her to kind of get back on track, obviously following that ACL injury, and get back into playing regular football and yeah, getting back in form?
Yeah, so as you said, I think it was an expected departure from Arsenal, first reported by Freddie, the Goodhand fanzine, which is always good to get another rumour right. And yeah, I think she had lost her place. She obviously came back from that long ACL injury. She was sidelined for many months, and really good to see her coming back. And then it seems that when Renee Slegers took over, she just kind of, I don't think she lost favour, or I don't think anything happened with Renee Slegers that meant that there was any bad blood. But I think that she maybe just didn't fit into Renee Slegers' plans and into that setup. That fullback position is a difficult one to play in when you've got Emily Fox and Katie McCabe. It's going to be difficult to get regular minutes there. So it made sense that she went on that loan for the second half of the season. And I didn't think it was a particularly successful loan, as loans go. Everyone says after a successful loan spell, but really she played 8 appearances across all competitions, but she wasn't regularly starting. She wasn't really getting that many minutes. She was kind of coming on in the 80th minute, maybe for the final 10, every now and again. So I'm not convinced. Maybe they've been able to look over their plans, new manager coming in, and maybe they see a bit more of a place for her going forwards. But we'll have to wait and see, because yeah, I'm not sure based on that, on the last season, how good it will be for her. I thought she might go abroad at one point, but anyway, good luck to her, and hopefully she does get the minutes, and we'll probably line up against her at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she joined Arsenal back in 2022. At the time it was a really good signing. I thought she had a really good season, especially in the Champions League. And then unfortunately, that ACL suffered, injury suffered really at the wrong time for her. And then after that, like you say, Emily Fox coming in, and it is quite difficult, for a player to get in when you're competing with someone who's a regular. You can't really bench Emily Fox, especially in any of the games. And it seems now, obviously, Taylor Hines has joined Arsenal. It did seem like she was going to be even further down. But it seems quite a similar arrangement, I think. People talking about the fact that maybe she's happy to be sort of a rotational option at that City side, similar to what Taylor Hines is doing at Arsenal potentially. So interesting to see. And yeah, like you say, a new project at Manchester City, obviously, new manager, new players coming in. We wish her the best of luck, and hopefully she'll get some minutes and she'll be able to get back to that player that we did see. When she was at Arsenal and performing well. So, yeah, lots of transfer talk. Obviously, nothing confirmed yet, but we did obviously have the news that London City Lionesses have put that bid in for Beth Mead, another one to talk about, and another player that potentially there's a lot of differing opinions about. She's potentially, well, not going to be a starting, you don't know for definite, but she wouldn't maybe be a starting player in Renee Slager's team going into next season. But a player who spent a lot of time at Arsenal, obviously really, really appreciated and loved by the fans. She's top assist in the WSL. She's up there with top goal scorers. She's, helped us to some of the things that we've been able to achieve at the club. And I kind of see her as sort of Arsenal through and through in a way. But let's talk about the move. Obviously not confirmed yet, but is that something that Arsenal fans, or yourself is thinking is a good move for her, or can you still see her playing a role in this Arsenal side? For me, I still think she has more to show at Arsenal. I think she can make an impact off the bench, but how do you kind of see that potential move unfolding?
Well, yeah, firstly, I think London City Lionesses are they're putting their money where their mouth is. They said they were going to make waves and make big transfers this window, and they really have. Just the news just before we started recording that they've signed Ana Fernandez from Barcelona. So I think, they are showing ambition, and they really want to make a mark in the WSL, and going after someone like Beth Mead, who has got such a sort of omnipresence in the WSL. She's been there for years. She's had such an impact for Arsenal over many seasons. I think that they'd love to have someone like her join their ranks and bring that experience to them to join other experienced players like Nikita Paris, who's played years in the league as well. So yeah, it's not something I was completely surprised about. I think it was only a matter of time until they tried to come after someone from Arsenal. So it's interesting, and I guess they've targeted Beth Mead because of, as you said, she's not going to necessarily be a regular starter this season, and it's whether she's happy to fulfill that role of an impact sub. And we've seen that this season. She's had some really huge moments, like an assist to win the Champions League, for example, and there are maybe some negative talk amongst the fan base or other fan bases saying that she's, past her prime and she's not, performing as well. But that's what happens in football as you get a bit older and you've been playing for so long and she's come back from these long injuries. She's not going to be playing as well as she was 5 years ago, but that's to be expected, and she still has got these wonderful moments within her. So I would like to see her stay at Arsenal at least for another season. I think there has been a lot of chat that this would be the summer that she would leave, and I think people might have thought she might go to Manchester United or somewhere else, but London City coming in could be an interesting move. I think it would mean that Arsenal would probably need to sign a fourth winger because you'd want to have a couple of options on each side. And if Beth Mead left, that does leave quite a big gap there to fill, and her experience. She's quite irreplaceable, really. I don't know what you think about having to fill her shoes, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And I know a lot of the discussion has been about, exploring Beth Mead as an impact player. I think Tim Stillman talked about defensive contributions. People forget about that when she comes onto the pitch. She's always willing, like Mariona and those other type of players, to win the ball back. And Arsenal may need that in games. As we go throughout the season, it's not always going to be straightforward. You're going to need goals. You're going to need somebody to come on and protect the lead. And that's definitely something that, she has in her. We saw that, like you say, Champions League is a prime example of that. People saying, she's past her best following that ACL injury, unfortunately. But look at those moments where she comes on and she makes a difference. She scores a goal, she gets the assist, she changes a game. From the start, I think there's right to say she isn't being the same player that she was if she starts a game. But coming off the bench, I've been impressed on a number of occasions with what she's been able to achieve. And as much as obviously we've made great signings, Chloe Kelly, Olivia Smith. Like you say, we're still not there with that winger position. We still need squad depth. We don't need to kind of, as soon as we get somebody, then get rid of someone. That kind of defeats the point of the squad that Renee Sagers is trying to build. So it's not dead set who will start those games. I think it's still up in the air. Maybe Renee will be looking at Chloe Kelly as an impact player, or we've still got Caitlin Ford to explore. But like you say, the season hasn't started yet. We don't know what kind of system's going to be played. And for me, I still think there's a role for her to play there. It's just if she's happy to play that, and also trophies to win, right? Like that's important to a player, and she could still do that as a player not starting in that starting 11. But yeah, lots of discussions to have about that, and nothing confirmed yet, obviously. So she has gone obviously to Germany with the squad in pre-season, so we'll see how that unfolds. Obviously, talking of pre-season, they are out there at the moment, but when they return, there is a confirmed fixture. Wednesday, the 27th of August, at Meadow Park. Arsenal are coming up against West Ham. Now, we talked a little bit about this before we started recording. West Ham's such an interesting team for Arsenal. Obviously, they have intentions to compete. They've shown with great signings. Fionn Morgan's gone there. They've kept a lot of their best players. And they've become quite a bogey team for Arsenal, really. If we go back to not last season, the season before, obviously we lost to West Ham. Then look at last season, we beat them narrowly away. It was Renee Sagers' first game as interim head coach, if I remember correctly, and it wasn't convincing at the time. And then obviously 4-3 at Meadow Park, which is a game, for the history books. But such an interesting team for them to choose, and a good one, I think, because it tests sort of Arsenal's ability in the WSL going into this new season, new players, new systems. How do you kind of see, and do you think it's sort of a good decision to play it then and obviously play it at home as well?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think everyone will just be raring to go to get back to Meadow Park. I'm sure that all the fans, I mean, I'm really excited. I think hopefully going to be able to go and cover that one. So I just can't wait to go back there. As positive as it is having all the league games at the Emirates, it is a real special atmosphere at Meadow Park, and I think that people will be excited that that will be a nice way to kick off the start of the season. And I was getting a bit worried that all the preseason matches were going to be behind closed doors, but I think it's nice to have one that people can go to, which is great. And yeah, as you said, West Ham, very exciting. That 4-3 game, that was one of my highlights of the season, that one. And it was just a classic example of Arsenal's sort of second half resilience and being able to overturn these deficits. But yeah, total chaos. And I mean, hopefully I mean, preseason matches can be like that, so you never know what we might see on the 27th. But hopefully, Arsenal will be a little bit more commanding, and the new signings would have really been able to find their feet and get integrated within that squad. Obviously, we've only just had those Lionesses and Mariana Caldente come back into training, and they've gone straight on their training camp. So I think it'll be a little bit about everyone getting used to playing together again rather than against each other in the Euros. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how all these new signings are going to play and what their roles are going to be and I think it's going to be a really exciting new look for Arsenal going in, and I think it's nice that we'll be able to see that ahead of the London City game because I almost think London City and West Ham quite that's some good opponents to have close together because they're both quite unpredictable. But West Ham, who, as you said, we've had these differing results against in the last couple of seasons, and then London City, who we've beaten the last few times we've played, but they've had a complete overhaul, of course, because they've come into WSL. So I think it's a really good time to play West Ham and have these kind of they've got some real impact players, and I think London City will have something similar. So hopefully that's a good warm up for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, new signings coming in, but also obviously Leah Williamson missing, Kim Little as well, not gone out to Germany for pre-season. Could this be a chance maybe for players who, weren't part of that starting 11 last season to get minutes and to prove themselves? I mean, we talked about how Renee Sagers hasn't really had the chance to build her own squad. She didn't get to experiment much, which was what we talked about so much last season, because obviously when she came in, every game was a must win, and that sort of prevented players like, I think there was a lot of criticism about Kyra Cooney-Cross not playing, not being much rotation in the back line. But looking to pre-season, this is when you impress, right? And how she integrates these players in, gets their minutes, doesn't lose key players in the process is going to be huge. And we don't know, obviously, for definite if Leah Williams isn't going to play, but been a huge part of what Renee Sagers did last season. But there is a chance for other players to come in there. Obviously, it looks like Katie Reid potentially is staying with the squad, and you've got Laia Cadena, Lotta Ruben Moy, obviously Steph Catley playing at centre back, so lots of options there as well. Maybe a chance for some people to prove themselves ahead of the season going into that London City Lionesses match as well.
Yeah, I think definitely, and that's what preseason's all about. It's about working out your different options. If you're looking at that back line, I think that Renée Slegers, kind of at different moments this season, has put her trust in players like Lotte Wubben-Moy to make a difference and play full matches. She played against Manchester City in that game. I think that she's someone that Renée Slegers enjoys coaching and enjoys putting into her teams. She's obviously signed a contract extension, so she must be part of the future plans. So that'll be exciting to see because she didn't play at all during the Euros. So it'll be good to see her back on the football pitch. She's definitely one that's loved by the fans as well. Um, but yeah, I do think that it'll be good. We'll have, I think it's unlimited subs when you do pre-season, so we should be able to see loads and loads of people, proper squad rotation, a couple of debuts for the new signings. So it'll just be a great evening, and I think that it's exactly what the team needs to get back in the swing of it, back with the Arsenal fans, back with their own team, and yeah, I do think it's slightly strange that Leah Williamson and Kim haven't gone to Germany anyway. I think that maybe says more about about the level of their injuries than Arsenal were letting on. Because if it was easy to kind of play through, they probably would have gone and joined just to be part of the training. So I wonder whether they're both pretty gym based at the moment and just staying put in London Colney. But we'll see how that transpires. We've still got a few weeks, so I'm sure that one or both of them will be okay by the first game. But yeah, I think it's really exciting. I can't wait to get back to it and just to see the Arsenal again, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely feels like now the Euros is over, like settling back into club football, it is a little bit strange, but having the pre-season, like you say, that's not behind closed doors that we can actually go to is probably going to help rather than going straight. I was thinking going straight into that London City game at the Emirates would be quite strange, but I'm sure we'll soon settle back into that. Obviously, not much official transfer news at the moment. Obviously, Rosa Kafaji going on loan to Brighton, we kind of expected that one. She was struggling for minutes and coming back from injury. A lot of young players in the squad. I did want to touch on this actually because it gets to that point in the season where you start exploring which of these players are going to stay and which might actually have a breakthrough season and be part of Renee Slager's plans. Obviously, I mentioned Katie Reid was trusted by Renee and Renee spoke so highly of her, but do you see any of the other young players in that squad staying? Obviously, I'm going to touch a little bit on Michelle Adjiman, where you stand on that situation again, because that's another one to explore. Obviously, there's other players in there, potential moves happening for Layla Ha, but nothing confirmed yet, but she's not out in Germany at the moment, so that looks likely. And lots of other talented young players in there. Jessie Gale not going, obviously, I think that's another injury that was mentioned by Arsenal, but we've got so much talent in that academy, and it could actually be a big season for some of these players if they do stay. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Anyone in particular that you might think might be playing a role this season, or have a future at Arsenal sooner than we maybe thought?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think you've obviously seen the rumours that Michelle Adjumang might go back on loan to Brighton. I think if she does go on loan, it probably will be Brighton again, just because she's kind of already set up there, and it's not strengthening, inverted commas, a direct rival with someone like Michelle Adjumang, who's such an impact player, as we've seen. I think that I've just seen that Emma Sanders from the BBC saying that about Layla Harbour, and how because she hasn't gone to Germany, it's possibly because they're in the last stages of finalising a loan deal for her. So that could be something that we hear about probably next week now, but in the coming days. And I think it's really important for these players to go out at least for half a season, because I think they won't get minutes in that first team, and I think that there's just too much squad depth in a lot of places on the pitch that in order to develop them and their game, I think it's so important that they go out, and potentially a couple of them going out on loan in the WSL rather than the Championship, because they've already done their Championship loans, and maybe they can go in a team higher up the Championship, or move up to the WSL, so that they're really ready to come back and play for Arsenal when they do. I know Jessie Gale last season was training with the first team a lot more regularly than a couple of the other youngsters, just because she was local and it was easier to get in. I remember asking Renee about that, and how she likes to bring the players in so they can experience life as a first team player, and how they warm up and how they prep, going to the gym, coming in, eating with the team, just being around that setup and getting used to the professional aspect of it. So I think that they all seem to be prepared on that level, but it'll be interesting to see. We've got a couple more weeks of the window, and I think these loans I think last season they all kind of came on one day. They just announced a bit of a list of who was going where, and I think that we might see something similar again. But yeah, I'll be interested to see where they go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, keeping on Freddie's Twitter, he's had a lot of exciting updates and transfer news ahead of time over on his Twitter account. Obviously, everything posted on articles on the Gooner website as well, so make sure you're keeping up with that. Everything that we can find out from pre-season, and obviously that game against West Ham, that's the 27th. Tickets information is coming soon. Arsenal have informed us, so make sure that you keep it up to date with that, and I'm sure information will be shared soon. We can't really finish this podcast without talking about something that's hugely important to us and the entire team at the Gooner. At the moment, we are trying to hit 1,000 subscriptions for our Gooner subscription. This is hugely important because it means that we can continue to produce the content that we are doing, not only for Arsenal women, but for the Arsenal community in general. We know the print fanzines have been such a huge part for what we've been able to do this season, from seeing it first debuting at the North London Derby and being able to see our work that we've worked so hard to produce in print, and seeing people buying them and sharing them, and most recently obviously the Champions of Europe one, which you can also purchase on the Gooner website. But we need those subscriptions, and we're still looking for over 150 at the moment. So if you can, it's £30 a year for the standard subscription, 45 for gold, which gives you a Hall of Fame mention. Please try and support it. The work that we do is so important to us and everyone else, and we want to be able to continue to do that. And also, I think we have to talk about the impact on women's football in general, right? Being able to produce content like this on Arsenal Women. Leith, our editor, is a huge supporter of everything we do for the women's team, and making this podcast and working with everyone else. So we please ask that if you can, you sort of share it around, get a subscription, gift it to anybody that you know. You'll vouch for this. It's so important to us, and we've been trying to do as much as we can in that sense to spread the word. But that obviously we'll share all information in the description. But you can obviously head over to the Gooner website. It's all there, all information about trying to save it. And this is by the end of August. So if you can, please do it as soon as possible. And yeah, just sharing it around helps as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's such an establishment, the Guna fanzine. It's been around for so many years, and pretty much anyone that's ever been to an Arsenal game would have seen the people selling the Guna fanzines shouting "Get your Guna," and it's a real kind of big part of a match day experience. At least for me, I remember before I was even part of the team going and buying a Guna fanzine, and I think that that's something that no one will want to see go, especially all those subscribers that we have got, and we just need to just get a few more on board for the start of this season. But it has been so exciting, being able to create the women's print editions, and I think that a lot of people have really loved that, love having a bit of a souvenir from a match day, remembering that you got it that day, or it kind of talks about a couple of stories from the past few weeks of the season, and just having something to collect and to hold on to, which isn't so common in women's football because there's not, loads and loads of print publications. So, yeah, it's something really exciting, and we'd love to be able to carry on making these for everyone. So, yeah, please, if you can, do subscribe, and we can promise that the content is really great. Good pieces of writing from Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans, and I think that that's really unique. So, yeah, do have a look.
Yeah, women's football is definitely a space, isn't it, for memorabilia, souvenirs, so many positive reviews that we've already seen. So thank you to everyone that's already purchased the Champions of Europe one and has been supporting by getting the subscription. It doesn't go up unnoticed. We see it all. If you want to sort of promote what you've bought and that you've enjoyed it, you can just tweet us at Gooner Fanzine on Twitter, and we'll repost that as well. We're so grateful to the Arsenal community, and especially the Arsenal women's community has really stepped in over the past few days to try and help as well. So thank you to everyone that's kind of come together and shared the stuff and bought the subscriptions, because we notice every single one, and so does the rest of the team. So we're extremely grateful. But yeah, I feel like that's all there is at the moment. It is sort of getting towards pre-season. We'll be trying to cover that as much as we possibly can, and we'll be back obviously with lots of episodes, especially one ahead of the London City game, which I'm really excited to film with you. And obviously we're looking forward to that game. And if you want to get your tickets for that, we want to make that the best sort of start to the season that we possibly can. But yeah, thank you for joining me, Izzy, and I'm sure I'll be back very soon with more.